Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today is kind of a big day for the Trans Am here. We are going to go ahead and get started on installing our McGaughy's drop spindles on this guy. Get that front end drop back down where it needs to be, in my opinion anyway, to look correct. The car is currently sitting on its stock ride height, not the factory wheels though. These are the year one 17x9 Rally 2 wheels. We actually got these wheels for the car like right when they came out. They were fresh new on the market with year one. Whenever these wheels came out, we ordered them right away. Made one heck of a difference in the car. We have had these drop spindles on the car already once. That was when my dad owned the car, and it dropped the front end down enough to where the top of the tire would actually rub a little bit in here in the fender, and he didn't want to go through the trouble of rolling the fenders and getting the proper gap in order to keep that front end down. So he had me go ahead and just put the original spindles back on the car and get it realigned. So now that I own the car, we're going to go ahead and get the front end of this thing drop back down. I'm going to roll the fenders, and we're going to get this thing sitting to where it looks right. But as we can see, we're going to measure this fender here, and we are looking right at 3 1/4 inch gap on that fender. So I'm going to get this car up in the air, get the wheels and tires off of it, get the brakes off of it, and we'll get the spindles removed, get them installed, get everything hooked back up, and we will remeasure this car and see where it sits. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll catch back up with you guys here in just a little bit. Alright guys, so I got one side spindle out, I got the one out of the right side. Figured I'd show you guys the difference between these here. So obviously this is the old one that I've pulled out. You see where this spindle location is here on this guy in relevance to the bottom and the top of the spindle assembly. And then look at where this guy is. So what this is actually doing is raising the location of the wheel within the wheelhouse of the car, thus dropping the body down over the top of it. So essentially what you're doing is changing the ride height of the car without really changing the geometry of the alignment. So if you get into, a lot of guys will just simply cut their springs to adjust their ride height. That's fine, it works, but you also don't get near as good a ride quality out of the vehicle, plus you've changed the alignment geometry of the car because it's changing the angle of everything else within the suspension. So this is by far the best, safest way to go about dropping the front end of a car like this. You can still take it to any alignment shop, have the alignment taken care of, and they can still use the factory spec numbers and get your car aligned the way it needs to be without any kind of guesswork. So that is the reason why I opted to go with the drop spindle itself. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump back in and get this new spindle installed and then jump over to the other side. As you can see here, if you ever get into doing this, you have your main spring right here, okay? When you go to pull this spindle out, that is what's holding together your upper control arm and your lower control arm. So I put my jack underneath this lower control arm in order to keep pressure against that spring, because if you don't do so, as soon as you take the top or the bottom loose, that bad boy is going to shoot down with as much force as it possibly has. So on this car, it's not necessarily that unsafe, simply because the spring is cupped up into the frame of the car pretty well. I mean, you've really got to get that control arm down in order to get that spring out. Trust me, I've had it out before. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, so you're not really that concerned with it shooting out at you. But it will scare the crap out of you, and it still, to a certain extent, is dangerous because this is going to shoot down very, very quickly. You don't want your legs or anything like that under there at all. It's not going to be good. So I went ahead, put the jack underneath it. That way I can completely control the spacing that I have here and can safely remove and install the spindle and not have to fight it at all. Because if this control arm drops all the way down, then you're fighting with trying to get a jack underneath it, get it lifted back up into place where it needs to be, to where you can line everything up and put the new spindle in. So this just makes it a heck of a lot easier to do it from the beginning, right out of the gate. So now with that being said, we've got our little safety lesson for the day. I will jump right back in and get this side put back together, get the other side done, and we'll get the wheels and tires back on this thing and measure it and see where we're at. I'll catch you in just a little bit. Alright guys, I'm back. So I'm almost done with the front end of the car. I do have the right side all put back together here, and the left side is completely put back together with the exception of the tie rod assembly, because I have ran into an issue. I went to mount the left front tire, and what I found is with the big 17 by 9 year one wheels, now that I have raised where the car's wheel is going to sit, the tie rod end now wants to make contact with the inside edge of the wheel. So the best thing, well, the first thing I thought of was I'll just space the wheel out. I had a set of spacers here, threw a spacer in there, immediately decided that I didn't care for that, did not want to space the wheel, because then not only it will solve this problem. okay? But it will not solve my rubbing problem. It's going to make that problem worse because I'm dragging that wheel farther out into the fender. So, what I think I'm going to do is simply flip the tie rod end, make my adjustments, and flip the tie rod end. But then what I'm worried about is with weight on the suspension that it may want to come in contact with my sway bar. So, I got to figure out for sure what I'm going to do there. Plus, obviously, your tie rod end bar is tapered. So then your hole in the bottom of the spindle is larger at the bottom than it is at the top to accompany that taper. So if I'm going to make this modification, that means I'm going to have to basically burr bit out the top of that hole in the spindle. And I'm not really sure if I'm comfortable with doing that, if I want to do that, because then I'm worried about slopping the tie rod end. I'm not really sure how I'm going to go about this yet. If you guys have any ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments, because I'm going to get this taken care of immediately so I can get the car back down on the ground, because I do have work that I want to get done on the back. So if you would, please leave those comments in there. I'll take any suggestion and try and work through it, figure out what I want to do, because even though I am running bigger wheels and tires on this thing, I still definitely want to get this front end down. So, like I said, by all means, please give me some feedback, let me know what you think, and we're going to kind of break the video off at this point, and I'll catch back up with you guys when I'm getting into modifying this front end and making this thing work. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content and stay up on this build. I have also found out recently that another buddy of mine has just started building another car to go on the same trip as me. I haven't personally talked to him yet. I'm going to get with him and see if he's going to be on the same legs as me and kind of take it from there. So we might have another car for the videos for the Hot Rod Power Tour, which would be kind of cool. But I will get back with you guys on that, and in the meantime, like I said, please like and subscribe, stay up on the build, let me know what you think about that front end and any other suggestions you may have, and we will catch you guys next time.